Do you know what is made of space junk? Space debris, also called space junk, is any natural or man-made thing that is in or around space or the Earth. Most of it is very small, but some of it is very big and can cause satellites or rockets to crash into each other. This can make it hard to explore space and communicate in the future. So, what is junk in space? Most of the space junk made by humans orbits the Earth, but most space junk made by nature, like meteoroids, orbits the Sun. About 34,000 pieces of space junk bigger than 10 centimeters and 128 million pieces bigger than 1 millimeter are floating around in space right now. What is junk in space made of? The answer is satellites. Satellites have been going around the Earth for a long time because people put them there. Some of them are no longer used, but most of them are still in use. Since it costs a lot to bring them back to Earth, most of them will just stay there. Engineers will use the last bit of fuel to slow down satellites that are closer to Earth. So, the satellite will fall out of orbit and burn up in the atmosphere. Instead, more satellites are sent farther away from Earth, so they don't get in the way of other satellites and man-made objects. About 4,550 satellites are currently in orbit around the Earth. They provide communication services and navigational tools, watch the weather, study the universe, spy, and do many other things. More than half of them are no longer in use but stays in the space. Space rocket debris. This kind of space junk is made when rockets are sent into space and when rockets explode or hit each other. Some parts of rockets fall off during or right after the launch into space. Some are left to fall back to Earth or burn up in the atmosphere, while others stay in space. In the last 20 years, on average, 80 rockets have been sent into space each year. Meteorites. Meteorites are a natural type of space debris. Unlike satellites and rockets, which are made by humans, they have nowhere to go except where gravity pulls them. We don't really need to worry about this natural junk. We should be more worried about the junk made by humans that stays in space and can cause collisions with other junk and rockets, as we are about to see. Well, do you like what you are seeing so far? Don't forget to like and subscribe. Keep watching because you don't want to miss what we have at the #1 spot. Is space trash dangerous? Some pieces of space junk can travel at up to 28,000 kilometers per hour, which is very fast. Even small pieces can do a lot of damage to a spaceship, making it inoperable or, in the worst case, destroying it completely. Scientists think that 1 in 10,000 poses a threat and will need to take steps to avoid a collision with debris. Even though this shows that collisions are rare, the fact that people are sending more and more junk into space means that the chances of them happening still go up every year. In March 2021, for example, a collision broke apart a Chinese satellite. Before that, the last time space junk caused a satellite to crash and be completely destroyed was in 2009. Smaller pieces of space junk can also be dangerous to astronauts working on the International Space Station, ISS. The ISS is an orbiting laboratory where NASA learns about space exploration while astronauts live and work there. At the moment, space junk is not a big threat to our efforts to explore space. Instead, it is still a bigger threat to other satellites in orbit. The risk in space is just one part of the problem, though. Some of the space junk in low Earth orbit will lose altitude over time and burn up in the Earth's atmosphere. Larger pieces of space junk, on the other hand, can sometimes hit Earth and hurt the environment. For example, pieces of Russian Proton rockets that were launched from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan littered the Altai region of eastern Siberia. This includes old fuel tank parts that have highly toxic fuel residue that is bad for plants and animals. Even though people try to keep the fallout from launches in a certain area, this is very hard to do completely. What are people doing to fix it? More than 12,000 pieces of trash as small as 10 centimeters are being watched by telescopes and radars. Millions of pieces, like paint flecks and dust, are too small to be recorded. With a 1-meter telescope on the Canary Islands and a radar system in Germany, the European Space Operations Centre, ESOC, keeps a close eye on space junk. The center can use this information to tell when a spacecraft needs to be moved to a safer orbit. It also lets us know ahead of time when big things are about to come back down to Earth. Also, the UN asked that all companies take down their satellites within 25 years of the end of their mission. But this is hard to follow because satellites can and often do break down. Space junk will be less of a problem in the future if we make sure that satellites are taken out of orbit in a reasonable amount of time after they are no longer needed. Some companies have started missions to clean up the junk that people have put into space over the past 70 years, but it is just as important to deal with the problems caused. This can be done by requiring space businesses to adopt stronger restrictions, such as limiting the number of satellites and rockets they launch each year and creating an international agreement to charge operators orbital use fees for every satellite launch. If you enjoyed watching and want to explore more like this with me again, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification to our channel before you go. Thank you so much for watching.